This is going to be the Insider's video review for Friday, October the 23rd, 2015 for drum energy bands. Please read our trading disclaimer. So today in the markets, our traders looking at the S&P December contract futures. We're using our FloBar charts. On the left chart we've got a 353 and on the right we've got the 131. And we're looking at a very simple concept we call the block. And if you're just joining us, before we discuss the block, this white dotted line, when it hooks down, we draw a crest of resistance for a potential point into the future that we're going to look for resistance. And then when this white dotted line hooks up, we draw a valley of support that we project into the future that we would look for price to find support at. Now our trader begins every day and looks at our left chart, which is the focus chart frame. So if you're just joining us, this focus chart frame has a relationship of energy. In other words, we look at these blue dots and we can see them that they're above this solid white midline, so that gives us an indication of strength. And these blue dots are pressing up into the upper yellow, and you can notice they get right into the upper blue. And when that takes place, that gives the trader an understanding of a very specific trade setup. And the trade setup is what we call a strong block buy. So as price pulls back down here, what we're looking at is this potential area here to find very strong support. So from this solid white midline to this lower purple yellow overlap is where we're going to be looking for our support. And you'll notice that as price comes down here on our trade chart, price comes down to this white dotted line here. This white dotted line on the right trade chart here is this solid white midline here on our left chart. So as price comes back down to it, you can see how price gets below it into the block and also tries to push up. You see the flip green here, and then pulls back down. This is a weak dot. This is a weak dot push. Strong dots down, pulls up. Dots are staying above the solid white midline. Push down, and if the trader wanted to get long there, this would be probably a bad idea because we're right against this midline. So the block gets expanded a little bit lower into the left chart. You can see where there's a bright blue horizontal line pointing to this level here at 69.5. 69.5 drawn here on the right chart. Once price gets down into the lower energy band of the higher chart, this is a very strong level of support, and our trader would want to be looking at getting long at this point. You can see how this relationship plays out. It provides a nice move up to our next topic that we're going to discuss. But let's move back here a little bit and let's discuss this area here, because this is a very simple concept of looking at a block. A block opportunity is when price, this is on our trade chart, when price goes above the solid white midline up into the upper purple energy band and yellow. This is what we call the overlap. So for example, say somebody went long right here on the close and expected price to do this. Well, with price going up into the block, at the midline or above, and closing down like this, the close is about here, the potential for the trade from this white solid midline to the VEA trader is very poor, because that's revealing that this block is pushing down because of its close back below not only the solid white midline here on the trade chart, but on the left chart solid white midline, its mid as well. Both mids are still pushing down here. And then if the trader stayed long, for example, this is another retest up into the block that could not be expanded higher, close back down. So this is another indication that the trader should get out of that trade and not be in it, as the block is going to be expanded lower. So we have an expectation of where this block will be expanded down to, and this is this level here on the left chart. This is our lower energy band from our higher chart frame. So when the block expands down into this point, because we had strong blue dots up like this, we're still looking for an opportunity to get long, because this lower energy band is going to have some energy come up out of it. So we're now expecting this strong block here on our left chart, this is our focus frame, to do this. And what's taking place here is we're going up into this crest, and this is the crest of resistance that we expect the block to continue the trend to push higher for higher highs. And that's the job of the block, to continue the trend. But as you can see here on our trade chart, this horizontal pink line that I've drawn here is this crest of resistance on the left chart. Now I don't draw these lines on, I just have these levels into my head as I'm trading. But you'll notice our blue dots, they're above the solid white midline, but they start to press up close to the blue, and then they start to drop back, and they change from blue to magenta, indicating weakness, and they start to crawl from, you know, the upper yellow here to below the solid midline. And this is an indication that the crest and the upper energy band of both the trade chart and the focus chart are coming in as resistance. And our trader would either exit if they're not going to take the short, and this is what we would consider to be one of our three setups, into this crest of resistance. This is strong dots, pulls back, dots are staying weak below the solid white midline. This is a weak dot push up into a crest of resistance. Our trader would be short on this red bar. Now as you see price go lower, we've got red bricks, and I've drawn this horizontal green line on the trade chart here, which is this valley of support. So obviously on the left chart here, the higher chart's energy was not pushing up. So we're expecting price to actually go down below this lower energy band, possibly get a refresh here at this white dotted line at about 2070. But what takes place is you can see that price flushes down below the valley of support, and we also flush below the 2070 level, which is the higher chart's midline. So once we've broken support over here on our left chart is going to act like resistance here. Now this is another one of those strong block setups, because this down pink arrow, you'll see price returning back to the mid. This is the trade chart here showing the indication for the short for the trade chart. The level is drawn here on the trade chart. Support broken has now become resistance. So on the red brick, our trader is going to go short, and he's going to monitor the upper yellow to stay short down to this point here. So this right chart here is picking up this lower energy band from the focus chart. We're actually coming down into the higher chart's lower energy band as well. We're getting brick momentum. You'll see the dots pulling up, changing from strong down red to magenta. There's no wonder that our trader is not going to exit this particular short setup and look for price to bounce. As price bounces, we're looking at the left chart's support turn into resistance. As price goes higher, you can see that we're into this valley of support, now resistance, that I've drawn here in green. Price is strong with these blue dots. They pull back into a weak dot push into not only this support turned into resistance, but our crest of resistance here on our trade chart. This is a weak dot push up into the crest of resistance. Now, if you're just joining us, a weak dot push takes into account the block, and the block's job is to continue the trend higher. And this is why we use the weak dot push for one of our setups, because when the block cannot continue the trend up and we get a red brick like that, we know that the trend is not going to continue up. We're going to sell that market. We also have the combination here of using the mid here from our left chart as well. So we're getting an indication of two charts dimension of energy. So we're definitely short on the close of this red brick. So you can see price flushes on down. We're starting to get some brick momentum here in our focus charts, lower energy band. Starting to get more so here. We're staying above it. And you'll notice the dots, as they're strong down below the solid white midline, they're starting to crawl and hug the solid white midline, and then they crawl above, and we get a green brick. So an excellent point to capture profits for the VEA trader. So one last trade here for the VEA trader, and he looks at the market as it rallies up. From the left chart, we've got a crest of resistance. We've also got its midline here, plus that valley of support turned into resistance. This again is the opportunity to engage the block. Just like we did the block trade here, we're doing the block trade here as well. We're doing the block trade here as well. Again, if you're just joining us, the block trade is when we come above the solid white midline into the upper energy band and upper yellow overlap. And on the trade chart, I've drawn some levels here that I normally keep in my head. We've got the crest of resistance from this left chart here drawn on the trade chart here. We've got our midline drawn in white on our trade chart. This is our white midline, and of course the valley of support drawn in green, which is now becoming resistance. So this entire area here is getting what we call a weak dot push into this crest of resistance. So this crest of resistance right here is telling us that the block on this trade chart is unable to do this. We pull back into the block, we push up into the crest, and look at our dots. They can't even lift up out of the lower energy band. Our trader on this brick right here, our trader is short on this brick right here with all of this confluence of energy above us. And our trader, of course, uses the upper yellow to monitor and manage our trade to stay short when we have an expectation. Our expectation on this trade is that this midline here on this higher chart is pushing down. It broke below the lower energy band here. We're expecting the trend to really start going and to see if price can continue to flush down. One can monitor the trade along the way by placing their stop in behind the previous bar's red dot along the way until eventually, price down here takes the VEA trader out. If you have any more questions, please post them here in Wistia in the Insider's video review, or even here in today's video review section on YouTube. Thank you.